Hey everybody, just doing a little video here. I wanted to talk about something that I've an ad recently that was kind of featured towards men by the Gillette razor company about toxic masculinity. I kind of have mixed feelings about it. The positives that I see about the ad, and I hope you know what I'm talking about, but basically it was an ad that where it was featuring men teaching little boys how not to fight with each other. It was men who were harassing women, and there was one white man who was fixing to follow a woman and say some rude things towards her, and then this black guy puts his hand on the white guy's chest and tells him it's not cool, and various other things. And I think that that's a good thing to be able to stand up like that. But I think what I see on the surface is that it's a heart issue, you know. I don't know why Gillette is doing that. I think they should just make razors and let men use their razors, but they have chosen to politicize their ads to address toxic masculinity, and probably have lost a lot of not subscribers, but a lot of business in the whole interim. But I think it is a positive, underneath it's a positive message to be able to say those things and to make it not cool. You know, not too many years ago it was cool to smoke cigarettes, but then I think it was Yul Brynner, if I remember right, who was one of the leads on the Magnificent Seven, and then he was in The King and I. I think it was The King and I. He was featured in a smoking video where he was speaking in he was wrinkled and diseased from, I think it was cancer or something. He looked terrible though, and he really began the movement away from smoking, and he made smoking a unpopular cultural thing, whereas once it was very popular. Now it's very unpopular to smoke. But it's very hypocritical, because you still have drinking, which drinking, as far as I know, if I'm not mistaken, causes more deaths than smoking does. Yet drinking is popular and smoking is not popular. So it is very hypocritical, and I find the same thing to be with the toxic masculinity culture, is that it's all surface propaganda. If someone thinks that they can make money off of it, or that it's popular, or that they're going to get a thumbs up or a kudos from somebody, I think the technical term is virtue signaling. They will get behind something not because they're good or because they want good, but because they just think it's going to help their business. You know, a lot of times I listen to the Christian Family radio station, and I'll hear companies featured on Christian Family radio that I'm like, I can't see anything godly or Christian about this company at all. Why are they featured on this station? Well, it's because they want to advertise. So they will spend their money to support Christian Family Radio so that they can get an advertisement, and they'll get a little theme verse and stick it on their song, or not on their song, or stick it on their ad, and trying to appeal to a Christian culture. And I think probably that's what happened with Gillette, is that they think they are appealing to a culture that is against toxic masculinity. But in reality, I think men in general have been, and I know I have been, so bashed so many times. And for example, let me give you an example of how I've been treated. I went to college at Western Kentucky University, and while I was getting my business degree there, I was in if I remember right, it was a women's studies class. It was an honors class, and I had to pick a gen ed, so I think the advisor picked it for me. She said it'd be an easy class and whatever. So I went through it, and the teacher, very, very feminist woman, was very slanted in what we had to write our papers about. You know, you had to write your papers on female, I know trying to keep things clean and honor God, but, you know, genital mutilation in Ethiopia. And I remember various subjects we had to write about, and things when I would write about or give my testimony about, you know, say the Christian faith, then it was very sarcastic towards. And when I would express why I felt as a man, how I felt, you know, the class, which was obviously mostly female, I think I was the only guy there, except there was a gay guy there, but they would often laugh, you know, at my responses, whatever those responses would be. In another class, the teacher brought in a homosexual man to tell us, you know, what it was like to be a homosexual and all these various different things. But the very next class, which was to feature a conservative slant, the teacher called in sick and class was canceled. So, and you know, you go through something like that and you think to yourself, well, that's just a coincidence, but things like that happen over and over and over again, and you realize it's not so much of a coincidence as maybe you think. So those type of things are crammed down your throat. A very progressive, very, very socialistic, very feministic movement in the literature side of America. But just because it's in the literature side and it's in the news doesn't necessarily reflect what reality is. You know, people do. I find, say in my work area, I work at Holly Carburetor, but I find that they will virtue signal, but what I see them doing is something very different. So they will say, yeah, you men ought to do this and this and this, but the way that they act is something altogether. So I don't think that Gillette I don't think they could care less. I don't think that they are noble. I don't think they're virtuous. I don't think that they can relate at all to how women feel who are treated that way. I do think, and I'm just going to put this out there, I think that if you are a woman and you dress a certain way that is provocative or revealing, that you are sending a signal that your heart is a provocative, exposed person. So you are going to attract that type of individual. And they are going to think that that is what you want because you are outwardly manifesting what is in your heart. And that's the reality of life. And we can say, well, women should be able to do everything without any repercussions and should be able to say anything and get away with anything and blah, 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 blah. And not so much men, but that's not how things work. That's not how the world works. So I think the backlash that you're seeing with Gillette, where a lot of people are very upset with Gillette because they're virtue signaling and they're just tired of it, is we see in a lot of instances people bringing politics into media culture, and men, and I think a lot of women are very tired of it because we have begun to realize that it's an agenda biased thing. For some reason, women want to be men, and I don't know why women want to be men. I don't understand that. And I don't think all women want to be men, but the women who are in charge of these companies do want to be men for some reason. And it's like in a pond, you know, in a pond the scum seems to rise to the top, as my pastor used to say, and you don't know why that is. And it seems like in companies the scum rises to the top. For example, the FBI would be an example of that. You know, how in the world does someone like Comey rise to the top when your average FBI person, from what I understand, is just like your average police officer. They're just there to do their job and capture criminals, which is a good thing. But it seems like these scumbags rise to the top. But that's what Gillette has done, and that's what the backfire has been about, is Gillette has virtue signaled, and it has backfired. And I think we're going to start to see that more and more and more as time goes by, because people are getting sick of that message. It's not a real message. Just like what's happened with Star Wars. I think that Bob Iger, if I remember right, Bob Iger is in charge of Disney, recently made a statement, if I'm not mistaken, to Vanity Fair, where he said that Star Wars is failing. And you can trace that back to when Star Wars released their The Force Awakens video, and you find that it was very politicized, and they began to kill off in a very disrespectful manner beloved characters, and to literally kill the ideas of a generation. And what you find instead is like emu type people like Kylo Ren, who are man babies. They throw tantrums and they do evil, and they think they can get away with anything because they complain about it and things like that. And probably even worse is Rey, who can, knock out men with one punch, and can totally humiliate Jedi masters like Luke Skywalker with just the greatest of ease. And I don't know what kind of message that is. That doesn't make any sense to me, But it does have an impact in culture. I think there was a video released recently where this 11-year-old girl and her friends were mocking this couple, and the girl got in a full-grown man's face, and he pushed her away, and then she came at him. And I'm thinking to myself, why would an 11-year-old girl think that she could take a full-grown man? Where is that coming from? Where does that type of thought process come from? Did no one tell her that man is 100 pounds heavier than her, that his bone density is thicker, that his muscle density is thicker, that he's more experienced, that his fist can literally smash her skull? But she thinks, because she sees these women on film, they don't disassociate and say this is fiction, because it's traversing over into popular culture, and it's being publicized like, yeah, they really can knock him. Well, generally speaking, yeah, there are women like Ronda Rousey who could rip my head off with the greatest of ease, no problem. But Ronda Rousey is the exception to the rule. As a general rule, that's not going to happen, and I would never want that to happen. I would never want to get I don't want to get in a confrontation with anyone. I hate that. My dogs are going crazy. But so there's a backlash because the message is wrong. The message is false. There has to be a heart change in men, that they don't want to take advantage of women, that they do want to help preserve virtue in society, and it's lost. It's a very lost idea, because I think we're generally selfish. We're selfish. Instead of focusing on what is going to happen later on down the road if we follow a certain path, if I keep treating people this way, what's going to happen to me 10 years down the road, instead of looking at that, how is it going to change my life, how is it going to affect my family, we only do what we go off of what we feel right now. Well, right now I feel like I need to do something inappropriate towards a woman. Well, yeah, that's because that's basically the essence of a child, a boy. And you have boys in men's bodies who need to have heart changes, because you're going to destroy their life. They're going to live out 70 years, and on their deathbed, they're going to look back and say, what has my life been? What have I done with my life? I've done nothing but lived selfishly. I've not produced anything. I've not improved anything. I've not bettered anyone. I've not become a better person myself. So this Gillette stuff is garbage. But the message that men do need to have a heart change is a true message. But it's not going to come through man bashing. It's going to come through men being examples. But it's not going to come from the men that we see in Hollywood. Hollywood can't do it because they don't have men in Hollywood. What do they have in Hollywood? They have man boys. They have children in Hollywood. They have perverts in Hollywood. It's a very twisted culture. If you could see what's happening under the surface in Hollywood, It's a terrible thing, and you see it in their movies. These directors that put out these movies with these terrible things in them, they can say, well, we just want to address this movie, you know, we just want to put it out there for people to see. Well, no, that's not what you're doing. That's something that's in your heart. If you can use your imagination to create this horrible, twisted fantasy, that's something that's coming out of you. That's not, you're not getting that from somewhere else. That's a reflection of you. So yes, men do need to have heart changes, because there is a lot of things in society that needs to change, but it doesn't come by women becoming men, and it doesn't come by men, or it's not going to come through businesses. Businesses can't do it. It has to be a grassroots movement of men who are dedicated to what is right and good, and they are going back to a wellspring, a place in life. They're looking back into history. They have to have a vision, not necessarily to look forward, because we can't see what's forward, but we can project where we'll be forward if we can look back and say, okay, what happened here? So we have to have a vision to look backwards in life and see, okay, this guy did this, and this is where he got, and this guy did this and he got over here, and now his family's over here. So I don't want to follow this guy because I don't like where they ended up. I want to go this way. So we fall in love with those things that allowed that person and his family to become blessed, if you will, in life. So yeah, I do get upset with the feminism movement. I think it is very different from what it started out as. I think originally it was probably women trying to do something good, even if they went about it in a wrong way. The social justice movement is just virtue signaling. There has to be a change of people's hearts, and social justice warriors, they don't help anything. The only thing they can really do is just tear things down. They don't know how to help anything. They can't even pay their rent. They can't even support their own kids, you know. If they can't do something as basic as that, how in the world are you going to change a society or a thought to a society? You can't. You have to learn, you know, change yourself first, and you have changed society. And I know that's cliche, and that's definitely not an original thought. I wish I could give credit to where that thought comes from, but I just want to thank everybody for watching my videos. I am very blessed to have the subscribers that I do have, and I'm very concerned with these types of things that I see with these commercials, Gillette, with Star Wars, with the Marvel universe going the way that it's gone. People are saying that the Captain Marvel movie is going to be very, very a feminist movie, which will probably signal the downfall of Marvel, just like it has with Star Wars. On top of that, they do have the new release of the Doctor Who, whom they made a woman, which was a great thing to do. However, from what I understand, it has all been pretty much a feminist-driven agenda, where the individuals from the last couple seasons have been addressing all the civil concerns of lesbian women, of capitalistic societies, of men, white men in particular, like me, being the problem to everything. And it has put a great split. You know, it has falsely advertised what the heart of the nation is. I don't think the heart of the nation is to constantly be looking at these stupid things. I spend very little time thinking about these things. I'm generally thinking, you know, how can I improve this, or how can I improve that? How can I do a better video? How can I help my dog quit throwing up his food? What kind of food do I need to buy for my stinking dog that he quits throwing up all over the place? I mean, these are silly things, but those are the things I think about, you know, and I don't think about women and all the time. I don't. I think about women very, very little. I think that surprised my wife when I told her that. I told her one time, I said, you know, Hollywood has you thinking that that's all I think about, you know, is women, women, women. That's not reality. I think about women very little. I'm usually, you know, projecting some play or something in my head, or figuring out how to get more stocks filled at work, or not stocks filled, but shelves filled at work, or how to you know, minimalize better. I'm a minimalist, so how to minimalize my house a little bit better, and to do these various things. So Thank you though for subscribing to this video. I know I was kind of ranting and raving here. Hopefully it was positive though, and I think this video was more for me than it was for anybody, but I appreciate your time. Thank you.